Okay, everybody, welcome back. I hope you are ready. Have a pen and paper in hand and are ready to just explore something completely new because I have my dear friend here and we go way back. So we're going to try to keep this to where you can keep up, right? But my dear friend Melissa Delia is here, and she is an integrative health practitioner and so much more. But we're going to try to keep it focused and not too broad for you today. Melissa, say hello.
Hello, it is so wonderful to be here, Trisha. Thank you for having me on this incredible summit.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually a treat for me to have you here. So I want to dive right in because I know us, right? Like I know we could go on for and fill, an hour and a half space real easy. So I want to dive right in. Okay. So
Mhm.
let's start with the idea that two people, this is something I love this conversation, two people can have the same experience or experience the same event and walk away with a completely different truth than the other. So, how does the unconscious mind shape our individual realities?
I love that question. And it's something that, as a trainer of NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, I share in my workshops and trainings all the time. And what people may not know is that we are actually taking in 12 million bits per second of information every single day. Now, that is a lot of information for our mind to have to cope with. And so, what it does is it will delete, distort, and generalize down to a manageable amount, which is only 128 bits per second, plus or minus two. So, that's compression from 12 million to 128. And along the way, it's just tossing out what it doesn't think is necessary for us to keep. And the way that it chooses what's important to us is based on our filters. Now, every single human being has the same categories of filters. However, the content housed within our filters is as different as our fingerprints because no two of us have ever lived identical lives. And by filters, I'm talking about things such as the way we move through time, space, matter, energy, our memories, our decisions, our values and our beliefs, our language, our meta programs, which are the basis of our personality. Those make up our filters. So, based on our filters, we only retain a really small amount of every single experience compared to the 12 million bits per second coming in. Now, I have a quick question for you just for fun, and the audience can answer this in their head as they're listening. How many bits per second of information do you think we were receiving just 20 years ago? If it's 12 million today, what do you think it was just 20 years ago?
Maybe 4 million?
You're close. It was 2 million.
Oh, I was
So
close. I
in
was
20
close.
years,
I was doing
it's
math.
gone up by 10 million bits per second
Wow.
because of all of our devices.
Mm.
That was just a fun fact for everyone. Coming back to our filters and having all of this information be deleted, distorted, and generalized through our filters, then what happens is that that experience is then portrayed in our mind's eye as the movie screen in our mind, or what we call in NLP world our internal representation. And we all can do that. If the audience were just to close their eyes right now, and I'm going to have you go back to the last vacation you took. And I want you to go to a moment when you had a delicious meal. It might have been at a restaurant, it might have been at a friend or a family member's house. And I just want you to go back and sit at the table where you had that delicious meal and it's just been served in front of you. And look at the people that are around you. Look at the decor in the room. Hear the sounds. Is there music playing? Are there other people talking? And as you do that, notice how vividly that memory comes back to you. That's the movie screen in your mind's eye. And for every experience we have, we can go back and draw on the movie screen in our mind's eye because our unconscious mind stores all of our memories without judgment, as if in a filing cabinet inside our head. Every single memory gets stored. Some of them will be repressed if they're attached to unresolved negative emotion. And then the conscious mind can't access them yet until the conscious mind deems us safe to allow us to then access that and resolve it so that we can access it consciously. However, every single memory of every experience we've ever had is stored without judgment. And so what happens is we have an experience. All the information around that experience is compressed down to a manageable amount, and that creates our internal representation, and that's what we hold on to. And everyone around us is doing this. All of it's unconscious, it's all outside our awareness, and it's happening all day long as we go throughout our day. And so we are literally creating our own reality every single day. And when I learned this, it really blew my mind because I'd never stopped to think about it before. And the next step to thinking about that was, okay, so that's my truth. If I went to a concert with 49,999 other people and what they go away and talk about based on their memory of that event is different to mine, well, that's their truth. And I have really an experience that everyone will relate to that really highlights this. And it could be a huge shift for people because we've all been at a family reunion event where somebody has started talking about something that happened 5 or 10 years ago. And they start talking about it. And then you jump in and go, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And you're adamant that you're right. And you think they're losing their memory or their mind or both. And you wonder what's wrong with them. I know that was me all the time until I learned this. And I realized, oh my goodness, they're not losing their memory. They haven't lost their mind. They're sharing their truth of that experience, and I'm sharing mine.
I,
And they are
I,
the same because our filters are different.
yeah, I love that. And I mean, I don't, we have our, different styles and different angles that we come at things. But, and I was actually just speaking to a client today about the differences between herself and her spouse and how, how it's okay that she is experiencing the things in the relationship the way that she is. And that is completely valid because it is
Mhm.
her experience. It's her perception. It's her perspective, whatever word you like to use, right? I use a little bit different words maybe, but her spouse sees it a different way. And it's like he can see it that way. It doesn't have to make it, you don't have to feel like you need to make that your reality. That's his. And it's the same, like, with my life motto, which is this is my life too. It gets to look, feel, be however I want it to. I get to choose. But in that, I
Yes,
have to give it to everybody else because it is. Right. And I think that's what, how the world got to be so judgy. So everybody wants to dig their heels in, be right all the time, and try to convince everybody else why they're wrong and how
yeah,
they should come to think my way. And it's like, I don't want everybody to think my way because I think I would be extremely bored in conversation.
it would be very boring.
Right. So I mean, and
100%.
that brings me to, kind of that next space is why I know why it's important to me for this, but why is it so important to recognize and respect these different realities, especially within our closest relationships like family members?
Well, you know what's funny? Because we have a very simple saying, and that is you can be happy, healthy, and wealthy, or you can be right,
That is easy, right?
right? And again, when I learned that, it was like this big aha that we don't have to fight to be right. What if we simply allow other people's perspectives to be what they are, knowing that their perspective is about their life, has nothing to do with you, and your perspective is about your life and it has nothing to do with them, and simply honoring that it's okay that you don't have to be right and that they have a different perspective to you, and to simply respect that versus trying to prove them wrong. And so it's a piece of where ego gets involved here, right? And if we step away from our ego, we take it off, we put it aside, and have this new perspective that being right doesn't make me a better person. Being right doesn't gain me anything. And instead, being respectful of the fact that two people living in the same house that you would think are living the same life are, in fact, not living the same life because we're all creating our own reality every day.
Well, and can't it also be semi-true then that, you know, being right, how do I want to say this? You know, so if I feel like I'm right, and I can say I know I'm right, and the other person can say they know they're right, can't we both be right? Right? We can both be right
Yes,
for ourselves.
correct.
And I
Correct.
think that the more we could lean into that is,
Yes.
and I teach, don't dig your heels in to be right all the time. Lean
Hmm.
in, learn how to get into the stance of a learner, right? And be interested. You don't have to change your
And
way of
curious.
thinking, but lean in and be more of a, wow, help me understand, right? Like that's an interesting perspective. Can you help me understand how you got there?
Yes.
Because then they can explain how they got to their thinking that whatever is right for them, and then you can say, huh, that's really interesting. Do you want to hear how I got to my perspective? Because there's some discrepancies, but I don't think we're that far off.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it is about leaning in to being interested, to being curious. I love to let go of all judgment and turn it into curiosity. Who are we to judge anybody else, period? We haven't walked in their shoes. We haven't lived their life. We have no right to judge. We have every right to show interest and to be curious.
Mhm.
And it's from that place of interest and curiosity that we can learn and that we can come to understand. And it's only then that can we bring, differences together instead of fighting to be right, where one person is right and one person is wrong. If you can come to a place where you respect that both people are right based on their truth, that's awesome as well.
Yeah. And you don't even, yeah, you don't, anyway, we could probably do a whole session just on that. But I'm
Yes, we
I'm,
could.
I'm really interested in something else that you mentioned, right? You mentioned quantum rapport. Can you explain what that is and how it differs from, just regular old run-of-the-mill rapport? Because I'm interested.
Yes, well, everybody knows the term rapport. And in fact, what people may not realize is that rapport is actually a state of trance. And it's actually in a medium state of trance. And you've all experienced that. Because if you've ever gone to a coffee shop with a girlfriend or relation, somebody you haven't seen in a while, and you just sit down, you get your coffees, and you just start chatting. And then all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh my goodness, it's been an hour and a half. And it feels like 10 minutes. You are in quantum rapport. You are in a medium state of trance at this point. And in my trainings, we teach people how to get into rapport with more than just finding a common ground. Because that's very often how people, you start off a chat, maybe you talk about the weather, maybe you live locally and you talk about mutual friends or what high school you went to. That's all very surface level rapport. Getting into a deeper level of rapport is looking at physical movements, physical features, matching what other people are doing, because people who are like each other like one another.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's all great, and it's really wonderful to have these understanding and these tools to be able to do this when you're working with clients and you're in some kind of a role where you want to be in rapport. However, there's an even easier way.
Oh, okay.
And getting into quantum rapport is literally as easy as before you get on Zoom, if that's where you're meeting someone, or before you meet up with them wherever you're meeting this person, that you just take a few moments to ground yourself, to feel into your energy, to turn on your smile,
Mm-hmm.
to shine from your heart. And the moment that other person sees you, they feel it. And they feel already your warmth, your love. And even if they've never met you before, they're going to feel some degree of connection to you as if they might have actually met you before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally that easy. And yet, we're not taught this. We're not taught this through, the school system or even through, sales courses and things. People always talk about rapport, and it's still at that very surface level.
That's because, society, right, as a whole, where, I mean, everything's got to be get up, go to work, right? Your rush hour traffic, get the kids to school, do. So even though you might have a smile on your face, and you might be waving at people, everything's surface because we just don't give space to actually be present. Because as we're doing one task, we're already into the next, cognitively, emotionally, spiritually. We're already going from point A to point Z. And so B through Y, we just kind of sail through. And
Mm-hmm.
it's sad.
Yeah, we're always rushing. We don't slow down. You know, I like it. I was just recently over in the UK with my mentor and my business partner, and we were talking about slowing down our thoughts, just slowing down in general, and the value in doing that. And I have this beautiful metaphor around that, and it's a snow globe. You think of a shaken up snow globe, and it's all pretty and the snow's all going everywhere. However, when the snow's all coming down, you can't actually see what's inside the snow globe, or if there's words in it, you can't read them
Yeah.
until you put the snow globe down and you let it settle.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this brilliant clarity because the thoughts aren't racing about, oh, what do I got to do next? What do I got to do next? What's next after that? As you said, A through Z is running through your mind. And when we have the snow globe and we let it settle, now that's where we gain clarity. It's actually when we slow down our thoughts.
I I love that because I feel like okay, now we're getting into some running juice here, especially where we this is Melissa and I can tend to get super synergistic, guys. So hopefully, I don't geek out here and we don't go down some rabbit hole. I'm gonna stay focused, but I talk a lot with my clients, right, about operating in a full presence and being one mindful. And I talk to them like before you turn on the ignition, right, you got to get centered and grounded in the moment. You've got to have the cognitive skills to get centered and grounded in any moment because a car could cut you off. You can't just rely on yoga and meditation. You've got to know how to do it here in those times that you can't. And so, we have to be fully present and we have to be one mindful in a lot of the things. So, when we talk about being fully present in conversation, so I'm gonna bring it back to before I go down a rabbit hole, right? But if we're talking about being fully present in a conversation, but we're in this world filled with distractions, right? Like you talked about that trance, and the first thing I went to was, yes, man, I was just out with a girlfriend, and we were just there. There was people moving around, and I didn't even know they were there. And then the next thing I knew, it was like, oh wow, right? And being there. So I just went back to that memory as a relating to
Mm-hmm.
to bringing that to a relation to what you were saying, and Wow, is it ever so true? So how do we in all within these worlds where it's fast paced, busy out there's the phones are going off and the this and the that. And I apologize for mine. I'm waiting for something that's important to anyway, it doesn't matter. So I had to leave notifications on today. But what techniques do you use, right? Like I brought up vaguely a few that I do, but what about those techniques that, it's like I'm in a conversation, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my spouse or my girlfriend or whatever, and there's all these things going on. How do I get and stay fully present or grounded in the moment?
Well, there's a few things is it really helps to be grounded even beforehand. So the more times per day that we can ground, the better. And in fact, I was listening to a podcast recently where they said for every hour we are on our devices, we should be grounding for that equivalent number of hours. And so we all know we're not grounding enough. The more times
Does the
you can,
computer screen count as a device?
it does. It does.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got a lot of grounding to do. No wonder I'm always like 8 o'clock. I'm in bed. I don't even go to sleep till midnight, but I'm like connecting with, just let me connect with and remove, right?
I'm actually considering buying a grounding sleeping mat.
Oh, let me know if you like it.
I'm at a conference next month where I'm going to look at one and I will let you know if I like it because once I learned that and I realized how much more grounding I need to do and I'm a pretty grounded person already,
Right.
that that was really quite an aha for me. Anyway, so grounding throughout the day, which is literally as simple as just stopping, taking 2 to 3 deep inhales and exhales and really feeling those exhales go out through your feet into the floor as you ground. So that's one. Another one is what I call the stop sign, and we use this a lot. We use the stop sign when we are talking negatively to ourselves and it comes into our awareness that we just stop. So we can pattern interrupt that and we can start saying positive things. But we can also use the stop sign and we don't necessarily have to move our hand the way I am. I'm just doing that right now to
I teach
show
it
you
the same
what stop
way,
sign looks
right? Like the
like.
stop sign visualization. Yeah.
Yeah, so the stop sign visualization is the moment you realize that you've been pulled away from something, you just have that stop sign come up, which is the pattern interrupt to bring you back into being fully present. And initially, if you're not used to being fully present, you might be using that stop sign a lot. However, as you get better at giving your undivided attention to the one person or the couple of people you're conversing with and being fully present in that interaction and conversation, you won't need the stop sign as much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very powerful and simple technique that people can just start doing right now. And as I said, the other key place that I have my clients use it is in the way they talk to themselves. Because are you talking to yourself as your best cheerleader, as someone that you love, knowing that you're beautiful, successful, you're super intelligent, and that you're capable of doing everything that you dream of? Or are you talking to yourself and beating yourself up and bringing yourself down? Because that's what most people do.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we talk to ourselves is indicative of our thoughts. And our thoughts drive our results. So focus on what you want and use language around what you want to get you there. And you will get there because you get more of what you focus on. So, what are you focusing on?
Yeah. Me?
Too often,
I'm like, are you asking me what am I focusing on?
I'm asking the audience. Too
I'm like, I'm
often,
focusing on you right now.
too often people are focusing on what they don't want. When
Yeah.
I ask clients, why are you here? What do you want? Very often they will start saying what they don't want. And when we focus on what we don't want, what do we get more of?
What we don't want.
Exactly. And it really is that simple. And so much of what I teach is very simple. In fact, my business partner has an easy button on her desk that it goes, that was easy. Because we take people through techniques and programs and give them these simple steps, and they're like, wow, it's really that simple? Yes, it's really that simple. We've been programmed to think life has to be hard or that it has to be complicated or it's not worth it. That's all
Mhm.
programming and it's all BS.
Yep.
Really can be simple. We just have to choose to step into it and choose to shift our programming, which can be done. We can shift our filters, and that changes our reality.
Yeah. That, I'm on board with you 100%. And which again is no surprise. Again, everybody has like their best way of being that teacher, that guide, that mentor. And I love that you and have always just been so synergistically right on the same page, but coming from different angles, I guess, if you will, utilizing different modalities. But when we talk about them, it's like we teach the exact same thing, right? And it just is always so awesome. And I always just, like I said, guys, I get geeked out a little bit, but it's wonderful. And it's the whole reason, right? Like we get to come together as collaborative peers to come walk here and hand people gifts, tools, methods, modalities, practices, whatever you want to call them, that you can actually, if you're listening, if you're actively listening, you can apply everything that Melissa talked about here today yourself. You can begin to practice them and learn to figure out your practical application in your life as it will serve you. But if you're like, she said to do this and I'm trying to do it and it's not working, you're talking already in a negative way and you're already doing the opposite of what she just suggested. So anyway, before we head towards that wrap up, because you have given some amazing meat and potatoes, whether or not it's registering yet. That's why we've got the reflection sheet down below, highlights, tidbits, whatever tactics, for you to look at and pick away at one at a time while you're going through this summit and through the rest of the day, rest of the summit, and leading into your feedback call where you can actually pick up Melissa's free gift, and perhaps engage with her some more. Before we do that, what is that most important message that you want everyone to take away from you right here, right now, in this moment, about embracing different realities and fostering connections? We're going into the holiday season. We're going into an election season. We're going into all kinds of things, right? And sorry, I never bring politics in, but it's that season. That's the quarter we're in. So, there's going to be a lot of different thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and realities going on out there. So what is that one thing you want everyone to take away?
That whatever comes out of somebody else's mouth has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's all about them. You might feel like it was targeted at you. However, it is all about them based on their reality. So if someone else is telling you that you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, blah, 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 it's because it's their belief that they couldn't do it because they don't have the same skill set you have. They don't have the same passion you have. They don't have the same dreams you have. And so accept that that is their belief and it's all about them and it has nothing to do with you. And when you can truly take that on and understand it, it is so freeing. It is so freeing because you don't get caught up in the emotion of being hurt, of feeling let down, whatever it is, because you can just go, oh, that's all about them. And I don't have to take it on and I can keep going. And I don't get thrown off my path. I don't get thrown off my dream. And so just think about that. The next time you hear something over the holiday season of, people can be critical without even realizing how critical they're being. Just let it go because it has nothing to do with anything about you. It's all about them. And when you can do that, you can walk through life feeling so much happier and so much freer because you're living your life your way. And if you're following your dream and your purpose, then that's exactly what you should be doing. And kudos to you and you will enjoy your life and you will find yourself in flow and everything falling into place. And go for it.
Wow. That is such a gift. That is it right there. Keep it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their words, their actions, their deeds, their thoughts, their feelings, their opinions, they belong to them.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Wow.
Can I just add one more thing there?
Absolutely.
That our programming from when we're in that 0 to 6 window of our childhood, when everything's being downloaded as we
Mm.
learn how to live by the rules of family, our society, school, etc., all of that programming is still being run in our adult lives. And it's impacting how we're showing up. And so if you struggle with implementing any part of what I've shared with you today, or if you feel like you're just stuck and things aren't working, it's because you've outgrown your programming. And we can change that. We can rewire that and create programming for you that now serves you for the person you are becoming. So don't feel like this is who you always have to be or this is the best you're going to be. No, never. We're always learning. In fact, I heard a speaker say once, and I loved it, that we are put on this earth to never stop learning, find our passion, and be of service. And so I just want to let you know that we can rewire neurology, we can create new programming, and we can get you out of your own way.
Amen. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melissa.
It's my pleasure. I love having these conversations with you, Trisha.
No, like it's always so hard to push end. So you guys remember, there's this little prompt below just to help you, like take these little bite-sized things into the day, into the week. Don't forget about the community chat, right? There's a designated community chat for each day. There's also a general where you can just share wins for everybody to see. But if you want to, get in and start having conversations about some of the topics we talked about today, get over to the community chat. I'm sure Melissa will jump in at some point if she can. Everybody's trying to, make sure they're in there to give you as much attention as possible. And if you haven't, schedule that feedback call because that's how you're going to get all of those wonderful gifts and connections with each of the speakers. So absolutely, I definitely recommend, continuing the conversation, especially if you have questions, especially if you want to, deepen your understanding or embody it, embody what we were just talking about here today with Melissa. If you want to embody it a little bit further, jump into the community chat and get some conversations going. This is a great time to get, a real good collaboration with peers and other people that are like-minded in the same space doing this, right? Like it's only going to be open for 11 days. Let's take advantage of it. Anyway, you guys have been wonderful. I'll see you in the next session. Melissa, thank you so much for being here.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
See you soon.